This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about the most annoying current TikTok song ever, the specifics of a midday madness sale, and leaving our wallets in El Segundo. All that and more as we watch Season 6, Episode 7 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Sophia. I'm one of your hosts, and joining me is your other host and my brother. What's up, Imran?
Hello, sister. Hi, cousin listener. What's up? Happy to be here, as always. And I was thinking of, we're going to get into this episode, but you know what made me think of right away? How crazy it is today when a big news event happens. Where do you go? You don't go to the TV. You don't go to cable news. You go right to the internet. Twitter, Instagram, live video, multiple angles. You can see the thing happening in real time, live stream. Mm-hmm. What a world we live in.
What a world we live in.
But it wasn't always like that, was it, sister?
No. We're going to see today how it was back in the good old 1990, the late 1900s.
Oh, yes.
Because we're watching Perfect Strangers Season 6, Episode 7, the first of a two-parter.
Ooh, yay, two-parter.
Entitled The Men Who Knew Too Much, Part 1.
Wow, The Men Who Knew Too Much. This must be a reference to something.
Of course it is. The Men Who Too Knew Much?
Who Men Knew Much?
The men who wore tutus. The men
Desmond Tutu is in this episode? Does anybody know who that is?
The Men Who Knew Too Much was actually an Alfred Hitchcock film.
Oh, yes.
And I can't tell you a year because he made it twice.
Cool.
Once in 1934 and once in 1956. I can tell you 2 years.
Oh, Alfred. You're making your own movie. That's amazing.
And in fact,
love Hitchcock.
It may be that this two-parter is a little Hitchcockian on purpose in terms of its subject matter.
Oh, you know, Hitchcock movies are weird. You don't know what's happening.
Intrigue.
And once we start this episode,
crime,
I'll tell you what, it's weird. You don't know what's happening. Yeah. And you're like, is this okay? We'll get into it, though. But if you were reading the TV Guide, listener, and you cracked it open, that smell, ink, newsprint, you would have read, covering a celebrity wedding in L.A., Larry and Belky hobnob with the stars, dramatic pause, and mobsters, dun dun dun, part 1 of 2.
Part 1 of 2.
Oh, and we have our fantabulous cast. Bronson Pinchot, of course, is Belky. Mark Lynn Baker as Larry. We've got their significant others, Melanie Wilson as Jennifer, Rebecca Arthur as Mary Ann. And a pretty big guest cast. There's a lot of crazy things happening.
There's a lot of people. This is not one of our tight cast episodes.
We'll get into the guest cast as they show up.
This episode aired on November 9th, 1990.
Of course, you can stream Perfect Strangers for free for now in 2023 on Amazon Freevee. All 8 seasons are available to watch. Binge along with us. Play along.
Binge, free binging. Free binging for everyone.
Binge free. It's my motto.
All right, let's get into this part 1 of 2 parts. It's a doozy. Act 1. We are not in any of our normal Act 1 opening places.
We're not in the apartment.
Nope.
We're not where the other opening
outside
places. Yes.
And like on a peaceful suburban neighborhood street.
We're on a street.
And then all of a sudden we hear this car screeching around the corner and like comes onto the road. It's swerving. It like a hubcap falls off. It's this racing car. And then another car behind it chasing that first car. It's a pursuit.
And we cut to a point of view from the back car and the guy's got a gun and he's shooting at the car in front of him. Okay. I told
happening?
You before we recorded, this episode is so bizarre. I stopped this episode twice. The first moment was right here. I played this and I was like, wait, is this the right show? I stopped it to check and I was like, no, it's the right show.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Okay, I was like, am I watching an episode of TJ Hooker right now? Yeah. What happened? Okay, so then I pressed play again and it continues. And then we cut to the inside of the front car and it's Balky and Larry.
Larry's driving, Balky's in the passenger seat, and they're both in like nice like tuxes. Balky's in like a Meposian style suit. Or Meposian flavored accented suit, and Larry's also dressed nice in a suit. and they're being chased. They're like panicky and frantic. And then we hear Balky say, they're gaining on us. You better step in it.
Step in
instead
it.
of step
on it.
And Larry's like driving, swerving like crazy. And then he you see him, the car just like hitting things on the garbage cans.
It's going
and
through the alley
mailboxes.
and smashing through things. And let me tell you, here was the second moment where I paused the episode again because I remembered it was a two-parter.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect them to drop us into the action. And I was like, wait, did I play the second episode?
That's not how
first?
things usually go. Yeah. Well, they did one episode like that before.
Yeah, where but this is, it's a narrative thing. I forget what the term is, to be dropped right into the middle of the action at the beginning of the story. Yes. But that's the second time. I was like, no, this is the right episode.
This is the right episode.
What is happening here?
And then, so they're like being chased.
Being shot at, allegedly, apparently.
They're being chased. They're being shot at. Larry's trying to control this car. And Balky goes, cousin, you just ran a stop sign. And Larry's like, I know. He's like, I'm aware of that. I'm also aware that there are people trying to kill us, but I happen to prefer traffic school to death. Okay, so they're being chased and these people want to kill them.
This is serious.
Yes. The chase goes on. We're back in the car. Larry's like, this is the worst day of my life. And Balky's like, come on. Our luck is bound and gagged to change. Oh, boy.
So the phrase is bound to change.
Bound to change.
What are you
not
doing?
bound and gagged.
Maybe a little foreshortening of something. Foreshortening.
Foreshortening.
Of something.
That's the opposite of foreshadowing.
Foreshortening is the opposite of foreshadowing.
And Larry's like, oh, okay, maybe our luck is changing. They've stopped shooting at us. And Balky's like, maybe they're out of bullets. And then the man in the back car leans out the window again and starts shooting again. And they shatters the rear windshield.
I was like, oh my God, they're shooting. They got close. These bullets are going right by their head. What is happening? And Balky's like, maybe not.
Maybe not. They're not out of bullets. And then Larry hears the setup for kind of a little bit delayed because they dropped us in the middle of the action. Larry says, how did we ever get into this mess?
I'm so glad he said that.
And Balky says to make a short story long.
I love that.
And he starts the story with, it was a crisp day in the Windy City, and then we like dissolve back into a flashback.
To make a short story long, who does that remind you of? That is like a Grandpa Simpson saying from The Simpsons.
Yeah, is it?
He would say that. To make a short story long, we're onions on our belts. It was the style at the time. No, the best Grandpa Simpson line like that, he goes, to make a long story short, is a phrase that has a long and tenuous history to it.
That's right, I remember that one.
It's so funny.
To make a short story long. Anyway, so this is a flashback. We're gonna find out what happened. And in the flashback, we are back in familiar sets. We are in the basement of the Chronicle, and Balky has a video camera, and he's having some trouble pushing the big VHS videotape into the side of the camera.
Oh, that's odd.
And if that sentence didn't make sense to you, you're very young.
The video camera that required a VHS tape to record on giant
and it goes in the machine.
You've got to put it on your shoulder. It's odd that he's having trouble because I believe we've seen him video cameras
make home videos before. To send home to mama.
Yeah,
but I guess we're supposed to forget that and think that he doesn't know how to get this VHS tape into the video camera. Enter cousin Larry, all excited. Balky, I have great news. And Balky's like, so do I. And he points the thing. He like hoists this big video camera onto his shoulder, looks through the viewfinder, points it at Larry. He says, he got a new video camera and he can videotape him telling him the great news and we can relive it forever. And then they kind of walk together for a while as this conversation happens.
He meets him halfway up the stairs and then like walks backwards, tracking him.
Like looking through the camera.
With the shot. I love this. Balky goes, "Cause this is going to be great. I read the manual. The manual. Back to front. I set the aperture at 1.3. I set the white balance to 42.8. And he goes, I adjusted the, and Larry goes, Balky. He reaches over and he takes the lens cap off the camera. And Balky goes, that's much better.
Old lens cap
Come on.
gag.
Wasn't Balky making videos just a few seasons ago?
Yep.
And he just forgets to take the lens cap off. Come on.
He forgot. He becomes a bumbling foreigner afresh every episode.
You know how to use this
Every
camera.
season.
Come on. What do we do?
And so what is Larry's big incredible news? It's that he got an out-of-town assignment,
Whoa,
which
that's
is
exciting.
something like prestigious for a, up-and-coming reporter. And he says, all my hard work is finally paying off. I'm getting a perk.
A perk.
And then Balki says, well, I had a perk once, right on the back of my neck. I tried to have it surgically removed by the village barber.
Is that's like a tick or something?
And
What is
Larry
that?
just doesn't have the energy. He just goes, I'll have mine looked at when I get back.
Yeah, it's perk.
His perk. And so
What's
is the
the
deal?
assignment?
The assignment is Mr. Wainwright is sending him to Los Angeles to cover a big like Chicago, LA story. And the story, and Balki's like, what is it? Political scandal? And Larry's like, no. Oil spill?
Nope.
He goes, not Zsa Zsa again.
Ah,
And Larry says, no. But before we find out what it is, let's talk about this Zsa Zsa again. Not Zsa Zsa
This
again.
is like
line.
they've done this a few times. Zsa Zsa Gabor, who got into
Famously slapped a police
trouble
officer
for slapping a
in
cop.
1989 during a traffic stop.
Yes, and they've made Zsa Zsa jokes in the past. I think one or two. This might be the third
Okay.
one.
All right, so that's Zsa Zsa.
That's Zsa Zsa.
again. But it's not any of those things. The assignment is a big Hollywood wedding. Ed Albrecht, the Chicago Civic Affairs Commissioner, is that even a role? Is marrying an actress who plays Darla Wayne on a hit TV soap opera called El Segundo.
Oh, El Segundo. I left my wallet
I
there
left
once.
my wallet there.
Yeah,
I gotta
never got
get
back.
it.
I gotta get it still.
Got to get
It's
it.
still there.
Moving on.
Tribe Called Quest reference.
Yes, which we did look that up. That song was on the album that did come out in 1990. And considering we're in November 1990, I'm a little disappointed that
Well,
they don't make
so
an El
here's the
Segundo
thing.
reference.
We saw the MC Hammer reference
Yeah.
a few episodes ago. MC Hammer had broken mainstream.
Mainstream.
Tribe Called Quest in 1990 was very niche, but you and me, we were hip.
Two
we were,
little nerdy
we were ahead
Pakistani
of the
kids
time.
in
I was listening to De La Soul,
1990
Tribe Called Quest, Public Enemy.
knew all the words about leaving our wallets in El Segundo.
It's crazy. At 14, I was so hip, ahead of the game, and now not so much anymore.
It's because we're
I don't even
old.
know what's happening.
We're old.
I just know the TikTok songs that annoy me. Oh my God! Can I just say, if I hear that song again, if I hear that song again, I'm gonna jump out of a window.
How much time
I'm
do you
gonna
spend
jump out of a
on
window.
TikTok?
I know it's not even that. I'm going through
Get
like my
off the
Instagram
TikTok.
reels. Instagram
Get
reels.
off the
Every
Instagram.
video uses that song.
Good song though.
It's not anymore. I cannot hear it one
What
more
about
time.
Calm Down?
I know. I don't even say
Another
that. Now I know.
every-
Listener, is that song is stuck in your
All right. Focus, Javid.
Oh my God!
Focus.
If I never hear that
Focus.
song again.
Turn off your
Yep.
Instagram. Back to the podcast.
Anyways, I left my wallet. El Segundo, fantastic track from Tribe's first album.
So we,
1990.
as nerdy, advanced hip hop kids from 1990, are a little disappointed with no wallet leaving references here, but wasn't mainstream. Okay.
But El Segundo, I guess, was kind of a joke destination. It's just like a little town across the border. It's a real
It's
place.
an industrial oil refining town. But
Anyways,
somebody thought it would
Darla
be funny
Wayne, yeah.
to make it the
El
town
Segundo.
of like a drama soap
With a
opera.
character named Darla Wayne in it.
Darla Wayne. And Balki's very excited to hear about Darla Wayne because she's his favorite.
She's my favorite.
He never misses the show, and he says, "Oh, cousin, finally she's marrying a decent man." And Larry's like, "Darla Wayne is not real, Balky." Balky doesn't get it. He says, "I know a lot of people think Darla's a phony, but deep down she's a good girl." And Larry tries again. Darla Wayne is a character on TV. She's played by an actress named Marcy Eden. And Balky
Balky
is
still
like,
don't get it.
"What? A new husband, a new job, a new name. What a year this is going to be for Darla."
Larry's just like, yes, it is. Does he stop? He's just gonna stop.
Yeah.
And then Jennifer and Marianne enter from the parking garage. They're going to take him out to lunch. Except Larry says we have something to celebrate now.
Oh, also Jennifer's hair. Did you notice something
Yeah,
about her
so
hair?
Jennifer's hair is
Not
straight
as big.
and
It's
flat and kind of like a 90s do, like a new do for the decade.
Like a early Jennifer Aniston,
yes,
maybe.
before Friends, like an early,
It doesn't look great, though.
it's not a blowout, like
Yeah,
huge
but
brick.
it's straightened.
And it's straightened. She still has bangs. So this is
Yeah.
a transitionary hairstyle from the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
Eventually we get to the Rachel from Friends, but this is the start of it. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, look at that. That's different. Look at her hair. It's all straight.
Okay, so then they tell the girls the news. Larry tells the girls the paper's sending him to Los Angeles for the weekend in first class.
Ooh la la.
Ooh, fancy
First
pants.
class, Larry Appleton.
Fancy pants back when newspapers had money.
Yeah, when there were newspapers.
When there were. And Balky is excited. He tells them that he's going to do a story on Darla Wayne's wedding. And Marianne, just like Balky, goes, Darla Wayne, I love Darla Wayne. Although she hasn't quite been the same since that quicksand incident, which I found this line funny for so many reasons. Like, first of all,
They had
Marianne
a quicksand
also
incident.
thinks
Yeah.
that she's real.
That
And
she's
secondly,
real.
we've talked about how quicksand was like such a big deal in the 80s and 90s. And then even here's like a secondary reference to a fake soap opera
also has a
that
quicksand
had a
incident.
quicksand incident. We're like, they really had us believing we were going to die
It was
in
a great gimmick. You
quicksand.
needed to put a character in peril. There's quicksand.
Yeah.
Whoops. Almost died.
Yeah.
So, yes, Marianne thinks Darla Wayne is real, and Jennifer tries to explain Marianne Darla Wayne is not real. She's played by, and Larry's like, Jennifer, let it go.
Let it go.
So, Jennifer comes up with a great idea. She says, well, Larry, if you're going to be in Los Angeles this weekend, Marianne and I could switch to the LA flight and meet you there, putting both of the girls in LA with Larry.
I thought
Somebody
it was
missing.
very strange that like her first thought was like both Marianne and I
Well,
can and must. They must
They do
work
things
as
together.
a pair.
I mean, they're on the
they
same
can't
flight.
like ever schedule separate flights.
Their
They have
schedule is
scheduled
together?
separate
Have
flights
they?
before.
Have
Yeah,
they?
where one's been around and the other one hasn't.
I always
But,
assume
like,
they're on the same flight
Her
all the time.
first instinct was like, oh, Marianne and I. But if she's supposedly really in love with her fiance Larry, wouldn't she be like, I can schedule,
Let me go for a
I can
romantic
take
evening.
the LA
You and Balky
flight,
can do whatever you
and
want.
you and I can hang out in LA.
That would have made more sense. But no, she got to bring a third wheel along.
Right.
Jennifer got to bring a third wheel along. Also, leaving out one Balky, Larry suggests they can go after the wedding and see the sights of LA. And this is where Balky gets excited. He knows a lot about LA. He goes, Cousin, that's a terrific idea. He goes, we could go to Disneyland and then we can watch the sunset from the Sunset Strip. We could play polo at the Polo Lounge. We could go bowling at the Hollywood Bowl.
Everything he said is like described in the name.
is in
Yeah.
the name. And then he goes, well, I mean, all of you three could do those things. Of course, I won't be there. And he turns around and leans
Starts
against the railing and
crying.
starts crying.
Oh, he's so
because
sensitive.
now this plan has
He's
left
feeling
Balky
FOMO.
out in the cold.
FOMO before it was a thing. And then Jennifer tells Larry that he could always cash in his first class ticket for 2 coach seats.
Oh.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, sure.
And then Balky could come with.
That would be the gracious thing for Larry to do.
Yeah, but Larry is not incredibly into that idea, and he tries to sort of nag Balky, and he's like, "You don't want to go to LA, do you?
Horrible.
It's hot, it's smoggy, the traffic is horrible." And cousin's like, "No," Balky's like, "Cousin, no, you're right. I wouldn't want to go to Los Angeles, California, USA with my closest friends on earth, or meet Darla Wayne in person, or have my picture taken with Mickey and Minnie." And he starts crying
The
on
way he
Marianne's
said Minnie is so
shoulders.
funny. He goes, Minnie.
Minnie.
He touched it 3 times.
And then he starts crying on
And
Marianne's
Larry's
shoulder.
like, okay, well, it's just the 3 of us
Oh
then.
my God, he's so cold.
So he's not getting it.
And Jennifer's like, Larry. And Larry's like, what? He says he doesn't want to go. You heard him. Oh my God, what a jerk.
And then Larry relents and says,
He's
okay,
like,
okay.
fine.
And then Balky's like, oh, cousin. And Larry goes, oh, God. As Balky runs over. He goes, and Balky goes, cousin, this means a lot to me because he starts singing a song alert. He says, I love LA.
From the South Bay. I don't know how it goes.
I remember this song. And then a weird thing
LA.
happens. This is wild. The Randy Newman, this is a song by Randy Newman from 1983, I Love LA, starts playing. And we get this montage of Los Angeles, Hollywood, the beaches, the Comedy Store, street signs, Hollywood and Vine, just like, it's like a tourism video. People having fun in the sun, going on roller coasters, the Rose Bowl. I'm like, what is going on? They show Disneyland, they show Mann's Chinese Theater, all while I Love LA. Do you remember this song?
I mean, it sounded familiar in the show, but in 1990, it would have still been like pretty recent, a little bit. It came out in 1983.
It was in a Nike ad in 84.
Because the Olympics were in LA.
Held in LA.
1984.
Yeah.
And then ABC used it for the next few years in ads as well. So it would have been around, but I haven't heard it recently.
It was weird. Like, in the 80s, LA had the Olympics, and it was a really popular tour spot. Like, LA was great. You had Hollywood. You cut to like a little bit later, right? Early 90s. You have the Los Angeles police acting badly, Rodney King, riots. The whole city's reputation kind of gets tarnished during the 90s. But in the 80s, it was I Love LA. It was the place to be. I love
LA. All right. So like you said, we had this like montage of like all these sites. It's like a little movie.
Yeah.
And then it ends on an exterior of a hotel. Presumably this is the hotel where the wedding reception is happening. And then we go to it's like an outdoor patio.
There's a whole
the
event,
hotel.
a shindig. You see Darla Wayne. And this is now all filmed from here on out.
And there's like people,
it's not
wedding
a multicam set. It's looks kind of like a made-for-TV movie. It's a very different
with
feel.
A superimposed laugh track.
All the laugh track had to be imposed. They are on location, and we'll see multiple locations. It's kind of crazy. Irony being, they're in the show. They flew from Chicago to LA. Big deal.
Right.
Here, I think they just drove like 10 minutes away from where they're shooting to go to this place.
That's right.
To get
so
to the beach.
They didn't get to, like, the actors didn't get to really travel anywhere.
Which I guess is fine, but it's like all crazy on location shots of, we hear people say, what a lovely wedding. We hear someone, as they're cutting and showing the bride, someone say, doesn't Darla look beautiful? And I'm like, what? Wait a minute.
Didn't we just have like two people try to explain that Darla is not real?
It's possible there are more deluded people at this wedding who can't separate
or maybe
fiction
all the
from
LA
acting.
actor types just like
look at
always
Darla.
refer to people. They're always in character.
Marcy Eden.
And it's weird because I couldn't tell if they did that intentionally or if it was just like mistakes and bloopers, because later on in the wedding too, people still keep calling her Darla. They say congratulations, Darla.
That is so weird.
Doesn't Darla look wonderful?
Why do they keep saying Darla?
And these are wedding guests who have come to see this woman whose name is Marcy.
Her friends that know her real name.
Yeah, so I don't know if it was like just a mistake, but that was a pretty big mistake for them to leave in, especially since they're not doing it live. I don't know. Or maybe they did it intentionally. I don't know.
Just to show that everyone in LA is just
weird.
Yeah.
Loopy.
All right, so Larry's there and Balky's there with his camera. Why Balky is with Larry on this assignment, unknown. Maybe he just wanted to play with his camera.
Yeah, why does he go on the assignment and how did he get an extra person into the wedding?
Larry's got no pen and pen, and Balky is filming people walking by, and this woman walks by, and Balky gets mad. He walks up to her and goes, "Oh, you're that jealous dress designer that deliberately put Darla in horizontal stripes. Shame on you, Miss Longine." Of course, another character.
And he
from
points the thing right in her face.
Yes.
And Larry's like, "Stop it. Stop taping. Stop shoving that thing in people's faces."
Stop taping.
And he pushes the camera down and he says, "Cousin, I got to get close. I can't see anything." And then this is like a really weird little detail they put in here for, I don't know, for later. Because then Larry's like, "Oh, just use the zoom lens." And he shows him how it works. And we see a zoom in on a clock.
It's like noon. But Balky never used the zoom lens. Okay, so now
right.
you have to be shown.
But he needs it for later,
that there's
right?
a zoom lens on this camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was a lot of dialogue in this that I was like, why is that in there? What does it serve for the story? Okay, so they see the clock, which is like, have you ever seen a clock in an outdoor patio space?
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
And then Balky's like, oh, cousin, look at the time. They're supposed to meet Jennifer and Marianne in the lobby like any moment now. And Larry, I guess they're staying in the same hotel.
Of course.
And Larry's like, but I don't have a story yet. It's just a typical California wedding. Champagne and sushi. And Balky's like, what do you mean? You interviewed Darla Wayne. And Larry says, well, we talked for 10 minutes about her new perfume. Suddenly, Darla.
She's good marketing. She's promoting.
I got nothing. And then this is funny. Balky says, remember what you told me? There are no short stories, only short reporters.
There you go. Small. I said there were no small stories. And I was wrong. Only small reporters. Small stories, small reporters.
This is a small
He says,
story.
this is a small story. And then, they pan around and Balky's taking pictures of people and Larry's kind of narrating, going, there's nobody important to look. He goes, look over there. There's the commissioner, Albrecht, secretary, stuffing hors d'oeuvres into her purse. And then you see actually that happening. And then Larry goes, oh, over there is a guy who keeps trying to sell me
you see it through
life
the
insurance.
Balky's
Balky's
viewfinder
yes,
of the camera.
As they're panning to each of these tableaus. He goes, there's a guy who tries to keep selling me life insurance. And then they cut again to another place. And Larry goes, oh, look, over there talking to the bride is Marco Madison. And then suddenly he reacts with shock and his eyes bug out. And he steps forward and his mouth drops open.
And he says,
oh my Lord. And Balky's like, what is it, cousin? Larry says, that's Marco Madison. He is very big in the underworld.
And Balky says, boxers are briefs.
He goes, really? Boxers are briefs. He goes, not underwear. Underworld. He's big in the underworld. He's a criminal. This is a mobster talking to the bride.
And they show this like grim-looking guy frowning, very serious
he's a very
face.
typical 80s mobster kind of movie mobster.
This particular mobster was played by an actor named Scott Marlowe, who did a lot of appearances on television. He was on Alfred Hitchcock Presents,
that's
Route
ironic.
66, Have Gun Will Travel, Bonanza, Gunsmoke, The Mod Squad, Hawaii Five-0, Wonder Woman, TJ Hooker.
TJ Hooker. No wonder I thought I was watching TJ Hooker. This guy was on TJ Hooker.
Star Trek Next Generation, a bunch of things.
I mean, this is like a TJ Hooker episode of as we get into it. Of
he is
Perfect
no
Strangers.
longer alive, but he had a long and fruitful career.
He's intimidating.
Yeah, very intimidating. Okay, so they've just recognized this mobster, Marco Madison.
Marco Madison.
They try to go see what they're doing, and then
the mobsters walk right by him.
And as they're walking, they're like, there he is, let's go.
Oh,
and
boy.
they point to some guy sitting at a table.
Yeah.
And this guy's just at a table with a woman, having a drink, whatever.
And they go surround him, and Marco's like, hey, Bell, we'll have a talk. He's like, right now, let's go. And the other guys basically lift him up and drag him out the door.
And one of them takes the champagne from his hand and hands it to the lady.
He's like, hey, you take this, you come with me.
And then they just leave the woman sitting there by
good.
herself. And Larry's like, oh, there might be a story here yet. And they follow this group of mobsters.
This is dangerous, Larry. What do you do?
Yeah. And where do they follow them to? Into the a covered parking garage of the hotel. Larry and Balky kind of crouch down in between some parked cars.
We are in a parking garage, on location. Filmed. It's wild to see this. They're sneaking behind cars as the mobsters are in the background talking to this guy.
The mobsters are surrounding, a little group standing and talking to this guy. And the dialogue we hear is I don't understand. No, you don't understand. I don't know what you're talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The guy's like, you got it all wrong. And
he says, I wouldn't double cross you. I thought we were in this together. Stuff like that.
Yeah. And so then we cut to Balky and Larry crouching between these cars. It's some kind of argument.
They seem to be arguing about something.
And he's like, Balky, tape this. And Balky, of course, is like, no, you told me to stop taping. And he's like, tape it. He pulls him, grabs him by the shirt. He goes, tape it. It's like, okay. And so he points his big old camera toward this argument that's happening. And then we hear a little bit more. It's classic mobster stuff. You delivered the stuff. I want the money. I'm not lying. You're lying. This and that. The guy who's being questioned, punches one of them and then shoves the other one out of the way and makes a run for it.
Yeah. He punches the guy in the gut
runs
and
in the
turns and
opposite
runs.
direction.
Yes.
And the mobsters still stand there. By the way, there's like 3 mobsters and Marco.
And Marco, the boss.
One of them's an Asian mobster.
Well, and one of them has like
diversity.
a receding hairline and an amazing mullet. It's and a mustache. I mean, these are like such. But to see the Asian mobster, I like that.
Yeah.
In the 90s, like this guy's the only role this guy probably going to get.
Asian mobster?
Yeah,
well, maybe.
Back then.
But I was like, wow, look how progressive they had an Asian mobster.
Yeah.
Okay, so one mobster reaches into his jacket to get a gun to like shoot this guy who just ran away, and Marco like stops him, puts his hand up, and then pulls from his own pocket a switchblade.
Yes, it's got like a red button on it, and he presses.
And
it's a white
presses
handle,
the button,
red
the blade pops out, and then he does like a flick of the wrist,
and the camera pans over, and we see
the knife goes tumbling.
The knife in the back of the guy they were interrogating,
who was running away from him. So he like literally stabbed him in the back.
And then Larry goes, "Oh my Lord!" And the man stumbles towards the car that they're hiding behind, and collapses on the top of the hood with the knife out there.
Right in front of them.
And oh my God, did Perfect Strangers just show us a murder? What is happening?
That is wild.
This Perfect Strangers,
I thought this was TGIF.
This is a murder. This family, like I did not expect to see
killed
a
someone.
Stabbing in the back. Also, you notice the knife, the handle changes.
It's a different knife.
There's no red button. It's just like a sting knife. But Balky and Larry are stunned and looking at each other. Balky has a great line. He goes, "I knew it. Every time Darla gets married, somebody gets killed." and
then the thugs see them, and they head toward them. And Larry and Balky are like, "Oh no!"
The one guy goes, "Boss, over there."
And
then it zooms into their startled faces.
And we get
fade to black.
End of Act 1.
A murder? They just showed us a murder on Perfect Strangers. Okay. Wow. This is a different episode.
Yes.
Very different episode.
The guy who is murdered, who is stabbed in the back by a flying knife, was played by an actor named Chris Hendry, who also was in a lot of movies and television, including Little House on the Prairie, Dukes of Hazzard, Dallas, Highway to Heaven.
Ooh.
A little bit later, he was on The West Wing, Grey's Anatomy, Heroes, some movies, Psycho 2.
Oh, he was in the TV movie The Langoliers, which co-starred Bronson Pinchot.
Look at that.
Based on a Stephen King story about them in a plane. I think I remember seeing that. It was made for TV back then. Chris Hendry. All right, listener, before we get to Act 2, I'm going to let you know you can join this conversation. You can meet other listeners to this podcast and get involved. Join our Facebook group. There's a link in the episode description. I post threads to episodes we are going to watch ahead of time, so you can watch on Freebie. You can leave your questions, comments, observations. We'll roll them into the show, and you'll meet other fans of Perfect Strangers, of which there are many. If you think you're the only one and you found the show, you're not the only one, my friend. There's many.
Yes.
That love Perfect Strangers, even when they're murdering people.
Even when they're murdering
on the show.
people.
Okay, we got a murder. Act 2, Los Angeles. What is happening?
We pick up right where we left off. The mobsters have just spotted Balky and Larry hiding behind these cars. And somebody even says, "Boss, he's got a camera."
Oh, that's not good.
No.
It's not good that they noticed.
And the camera's huge, so you can't really hide it. There's still a body in front of them with a knife in the back.
Larry needs to think quickly.
And Larry, pulls his keys from the pocket and says to Balky, "Oh, no, not this one. It's a blue Mercedes, and there's no one on the hood." And he tosses him the keys, and Balky acts like the valet or something. He's like, "Oh, right away." And he runs off with the camera and the keys, and Larry just goes, "I'll go with you," and runs after him.
And then Marco Madison is get those guys.
A pursuit,
get that
a hot
camera,
pursuit
Marco
begins.
says, and the chase begins as they all run off.
They run on foot. And so then what happens? We see a whole bunch of stuff. The next
extended chase
majority
scene coming
of
up.
this
Yes.
act is
Crazy.
this chase scene through various spots of LA.
It's right out of an 80s action movie, a little bit, tribute to it. It's kind of great.
So first they're running through the back kitchen hallways of this hotel event space.
And what do you notice there?
And there's like, they run past like a big tray with a cake, and the bottom of the tray is like covered with a curtain kind of thing.
Yes, it looks like a wedding cake.
Yeah.
I wonder whose wedding cake this is.
Yeah, and then they run past that,
Yeah,
and
as
then
the men follow them.
Then the men follow them, and one of the thugs follows, like dragging the dead man's body.
Yeah, I don't know why is he dragging
Why
this
did
dude's
they
body?
leave him?
Yeah.
Why didn't they just leave him in the
I don't
garage?
know. And he gets up to the table with the cake, and then it cuts to another scene.
Yeah, and then there's these thugs. Oh yeah, then there's another hallway with like these bakery tray, like rolling bakery trays, tall ones.
Yeah. And laundry
on
carts.
either side, and two huge hotel
With
laundry
sheets
carts
in 'em.
overflowing with linens and things. And the thugs are like, where are they? They must be somewhere.
Check the basket.
And then they start like rifling through the laundry in those bins, those huge bins.
Meanwhile, there's a guy working there who doesn't even notice that there's two random people sorting through.
And that guy like rolls
sheets.
away as the two thugs
like, I gotta get these pastries out of the way.
are like going through these laundry bins. He rolls away the pastry thing, and
reveal-
Balky and Larry are standing there
think
very
that
still.
guy would be like, "Are you guys?"
No,
you guys
just behind them. They're just behind the thugs. So.
Yeah, no, but the guy working there,
Yes.
would have been like, you guys work here? Are you supposed to be back here?
What
I
are you
don't
doing?
recognize you. What
They
are you?
don't care,
He
yeah.
just walks by him. He's like, gotta get the
They
pastries.
don't care.
So-
Listen, in order to make this story work,
Yes.
we have to suspend a lot of disbelief.
Nobody's paying attention. So then Balky Larry is standing there, and the thugs are searching the baskets, and nobody notices them, and they slowly just sidestep across the hallway
into like the kitchen room
the
or
other
whatever.
door,
Yeah.
and the guys did not notice that they were there. That apparently leads back to that same hallway.
Because they cut
Because then
back
they're
to the
running
hallway
back
with
past
the
the
wedding
wedding
cake.
Yes.
And then Balky has a great idea. He's like, he pulls him in under the cake in
Larry
the
makes
covered
him hide there, yeah.
area, and they climb in to hide there. And then we cut to inside under the cake tray.
Yeah.
And they're climbing in, and we see in
There's
front
the
of
dead guy
them
there.
the dead guy with the knife in his back. And Balky's like, maybe this isn't the best of all possible hiding places.
But it's too late.
Before they can remedy
Of
anything,
course.
the cart starts rolling. Two waiters come and start rolling.
Classic sitcom
Now, wouldn't
stuff.
these waiters be like, why is this cart so
That's the first
heavy?
thing I thought. The way I
What
feel
is
like,
this cake
bro,
made
why
of?
is this cart so heavy? Is something wrong with the wheels? I can barely move it. But
There's
no,
three adult
there's-
men
Yes, that's like
in addition to
that's
that
at least
cake.
400 pounds or something to
Yeah.
add into that.
They wouldn't have and they didn't even struggle at all.
it
They
just
just like
rolled away.
rolled it like it
So,
was just a cake
again,
on a.
Just it's the thing that happens in sitcoms. No problem. They roll it out. Where's it going? Oh,
Like
look.
you and I know what it means
Yes.
to move hundreds of pounds. You would have to put some effort into it, but these guys just
They're like, doop, 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 doop. No, no, notice anything's wrong. I'm just doing my job. Look, I don't think they get paid enough to get involved and ask questions anyway. So
Yeah.
they're just like, whatever, it's heavy.
All right.
Let's get this cake out
So
there.
we're inside again with Balky Larry and the dead guy. The cart is moving, and then
Where's it
it
going?
kind of stops, and we hear from outside the cart.
Well, you see the cart get delivered too, right in front
yes.
of Darla
we
and the whole
do
wedding
see
procession.
that. So it's right in front of Darla.
And there's
at the wedding.
photographers and everybody's looking.
Everyone's gathered around because they're cutting the cake. It's
Yes.
like the wedding cake.
And she starts saying her speech, saying,
So
I'm
from
so glad everyone's here.
inside, Balky and Larry are like, where are we? But you can hear from outside saying,
hearing
I
this
want to
chatter.
thank everyone for coming, etc. And you're like, you don't know where
Where
you
do you
are.
think you are?
Dummy.
It's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
And then Larry's like, we better get out of here. Just missing
So
all
he
the cues.
picks that time when there's clearly people around
Yes.
to climb out.
So they cut back to the wide shot, and they're going, oh, and someone goes, congratulations, Darla.
Again, yes.
That's
see,
not Darla.
I told you,
This is
like,
Marcy
did they do
Eden.
that on purpose,
I
though,
don't
or is
know.
it just mistakes?
Just
Anyway.
as they're toasting, Balky and Larry both pop out right next to her on either side from underneath the cake. And people are like, who's that? What are they doing here? And then right after that, it's the dude. He's not dead. Oh,
He's not
good.
dead.
Oh, this dude's he struggles
He
up.
claws his way up. He's dying, but
Yes.
he's not he had found a second
He's
wind.
in front of Larry. Larry kind of grabs him from behind and pulls the knife out, which is completely bloodless.
Yeah,
because,
it comes out
hey,
clean.
on primetime TV, they'll show you a murder, but they're not going to show you any blood.
They can't show you blood,
I don't
but
know
they
what
will
sense
show you
that
a
makes.
man
They'll show
getting
you a stabbing.
knifed
They'll
to
show you
death.
shootings and killings, but no, God forbid, there's blood. Anyways, Larry is now standing there with the murder weapon in his hand and a dead guy slumped over him. And of course, the photographer's camera starts going off and the flash starts going off. And as the guy dies, he goes, Rosebud.
And he like slumps, and Larry is left holding the knife.
Yes, as flashbulbs are going off.
Yeah, and so all these people saw him
And
holding
then
the
everyone's
knife.
like, he's dead, call the police. They start scrambling. It's pandemonium. So Rosebud. Let's talk about Rosebud. I mean, if you are a fan of cinema and have studied the classics, you should be able to pick up. This is from Citizen Kane.
Of course.
Orson Welles. It was famously the last thing the character said, right, when they died.
Yeah.
And it was
Rosebud.
about his Rosebud was his sled or something.
Mhm.
You know what? I
Something
can't remember.
like that. Yeah.
It's been a long time. Apparently, it's the best movie
But
ever
why
made.
did this guy say
I
it
wonder-
here? We're
yes.
not going to even find out.
I wonder if this
week.
comes around later, or is it
Rosebud.
just a tribute to?
Or is it just a
So,
Citizen Kane?
Yeah, but they were doing a Hitchcock thing, and then they do like a Orson
Mm.
Welles thing. What are you doing? You're mixing your film people. Anyways, so panic, body slumps,
Ensues.
everybody's running.
Everyone's running around. It's like, ah.
Balky and Larry need to get the heck out of there.
And then we see some thugs start chasing them again. Then we cut briefly to the lobby of the hotel where Jennifer and Marianne just are walking up. They're like ready to meet the guys, and they have this was kind of a useful little joke to set the scene about LA a little bit.
Yeah.
Jennifer says, "I hope we haven't missed them," and Marianne's like, "Relax, we're only a few minutes
And she's
late."
still like putting on makeup and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the lobby.
Jennifer says, we wouldn't be late if you hadn't spent so much time talking to that guy. Marianne, in her defense, says he was a movie producer. Jennifer's like, he was driving an ice cream truck.
Yeah, yeah.
But of course, in LA, you can do both of those,
Yeah.
and
You
many
know,
people do.
That joke still holds up today.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it's still exactly the same. And suddenly you see Balky and Larry running
Just, like,
hilariously through. They're jumping over sofas. They're going around
And Balky's
pillars.
holding
jumping over
the big
suitcase.
video
He's got
camera
the
like
video
a football
camera.
in
Yes.
his side.
And they run by Jennifer and Marianne, and they're like, "Oh, hi, something came up. Call you later." And Balky's like, "You look lovely, Marianne," as he runs away. And Marianne
Marianne's
just
like,
sits there.
Thank you, Balky. She yells back at him. Doesn't
and
even
then they
wonder.
start to follow to see
They're like,
what is happening.
What is going on?
Then more crazy hijinks as they run
More
outside.
pursuit montage.
Pursuit montage. They run outside. They grab one of those hotel carts for a bit. They're outside. They're pushing on their feet.
Like
Then
a
they jump
scooter.
off that. Then they run through a gazebo and jump over the railing.
Gazebo.
They almost get hit by a car, and they
Yeah.
run out as Jennifer and Marianne come out and catch them as the thugs now step around them.
Not catch them. They run away.
They run away, but seeing them run away, right? Mary and Jennifer step out, and then the thugs step right in front of Marianne and Jennifer, and one of them
start
pulls a
shooting
gun
at
out and
them.
shoots at them right in front of them. Like, no blatant cause to look if
No.
the cops are there. Nobody's
No,
alarmed.
they're just shooting out
He
in public
pulled out
in
a
front of
gun
a
in
hotel.
daylight and shot, and he runs off.
And Marianne goes, those lucky stiffs. Larry and Balky got parts in a movie.
Yes, Marianne. Yes, they did. Sure, they did.
What?
Don't call the cops or anything. It's fine.
Yeah.
These guys, not so nice. They knock some dude over as they give pursuit. And now we cut to a lovely couple in the park. Tourists, clearly, who have rented a tandem bike. And
Kind of an older couple,
they're
maybe
an older
empty
couple.
nesters type.
They're struggling with it because the man goes, "Damn it, Sheila. Why did you want to rent this bike?"
This stupid bicycle. And Sheila goes, because we are on vacation and riding bicycles is what people do in California. It's what I want to do in California. And they're arguing about this tandem bike, which is adorable. They should just ride it and be cute.
Oh my God, they would be so cute out there.
Before, so they're just climbing onto this bike when Balky and Larry run past them, and then they stop, and Larry goes, "Look!" and they run back over to the tandem bike, and Balky and Larry like each grab an arm and a leg
Of the lady
of
who's
Sheila
sitting on
and
the
like
back,
lift
Sheila.
her
They
up
just lift her right off
the bike.
And then the other guy's like,
Can
"What
you
are you
imagine
doing?"
if strangers just came
I
and
know.
lifted you
And
off?
then they lift the old man off the
Yeah.
bike. The old man's wearing a hat, blue
He's
hat
like,
that says
"What
Hollywood."
are you
It's hilarious.
doing?" He's
Yes.
like, "What are you doing?" And Balky just bumbles. He's like, sorry, but we were at the wedding, and there was a murder, and then then they were cutting the cake, and Larry just smacks him on the head and goes, "Balky." And Balky says he wants to explain why
he wants to be nice. I want to tell you why we're stealing.
But before he can explain more, there's more gunshots, and then we cut back to see the thugs running behind them, and then they just scream and like get coordinated on the pedals and start and they
And the
take
guy's
off
like
on the
that.
tandem bike.
And the old man goes, "They stole our bike. Is that something else people do in California, Sheila?"
And then we hear the song again.
I love
LA.
And there's a crazy chase montage.
Yes, the thugs are like out of my way, and they go through a park.
It's
But
fantastically.
it's funny because they're on a bicycle, and the
thugs are keeping
thugs are
up.
trying to keep up with them on foot, and they are. But like that
But
doesn't make
no,
sense to me.
It's fantastically shot because you have
Physics-wise.
tracking shots of actual Marklin Baker and Balky on the bike. You got POV shots of them like from behind as the thugs chase them. You got shots of the stunt guys from the back going downstairs and doing stunty things and getting out
Outdoor
of bridge.
stairs to
and
the
then
pier.
faraway shots of the stunt guys and then a close up of the two. You don't see the bottom of the bicycle, but it's bouncing and Balky's like, "Ooh, oh."
Yeah.
Clearly they're just
Clearly
it's some
they're on
stage
a set.
thing.
Yeah.
And then more important, it's filmed like an action movie. It reminds me of like Lethal Weapon or TJ Hooker or
It
something.
is very action movie.
And the thugs are
In hot pursuit.
shooting at them in public. There's no cops anywhere. Nobody's
No
following
cops.
them. Nobody's slightest bit concerned.
No, people are just like ducking around them. We do see some people in the park like hit the ground when at the gunshots.
Let's talk about the husband. We find out that dude's
Herb.
name is Herb. It's Herb and Sheila. But that guy, I know I've seen that
Stephen
guy
Gilborn
in
is
so
his
many
name?
things. He has a familiar face. Stephen Gilborn. What was he in?
He was on the Wonder Years
Ah.
as
I
Mr.
think
Collins.
He was one of the teachers. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
I remember him.
And then after that, he did roles on LA Law, Living Single, Ellen, The Practice, Picket Fences.
He's got a great face and great character actor.
He's also no longer around, but he
He's
looked
old.
very familiar to me in this.
I love LA. We love it.
Yeah,
It's still
so
playing. They're on the pier now. It looks like a pier. It's like a street that goes along the ocean.
yeah, and so like what do you call those? Like a
It's like a boardwalk.
A
Kind of a boardwalk
boardwalk,
thing.
kind of.
Apparently the thugs.
Can you tell we're from Chicago?
Yeah, we don't have. It's not like Atlantic
Boardwalk.
City. There's Navy Pier
Yeah.
here. The thugs apparently still able to keep up with them on foot.
Yeah.
Even though these two are on a tandem bicycle.
So they're cycling through this boardwalk around people, and then they just like lose balance and
It's
fall
so
down.
funny. So
fall
they're
over.
on like the wooden plank part of the boardwalk, and for some reason the bike just falls over. They didn't hit anything.
They
He just goes
were like,
wobbling.
whoa,
All of a
and then
sudden,
fall
they
down.
forget how to ride a bicycle,
Yeah.
and they fall over. It's so funny.
And then and of course now that they're off the bike, they can't get back
They
on
can
it.
just
They
get
have
the bike's
to.
done. The bike's broken.
They have to start running.
gotta
Of
run.
course, that's
Balky
the,
grabs the camera. He leaves it behind. But that is so funny. I was like, just get back on the bike. Keep
He
going.
goes back, grabs the camera, and then they run behind this, like toward the edge of the pier by the water, but this like bench and
There's
a guy,
two fishermen sitting on it on the
sitting there,
near
and in
side.
between them is like a
Pile of freshly caught fish.
pile of fish, and so they hide behind the bench in the middle where the fish are, and because obviously nobody can see them behind fish. A fishy
No, the
bench.
fish are covering them. So there's a railing behind them, and Larry's like, the thugs are there at the bike where they left the bike, and Larry's like, Balky, we're trapped. And Balky looks around and goes, no, cousin, we're not. He pulls Larry to the railing behind them, and he looks down. Larry goes, we're dead men. And Balky's like, cousin, we can jump. This is straight out of an action movie. I mean, jumping off of a pier to
and
get away.
Larry looks over, and we see this like very filmed scene.
Yeah, of like the
water
ocean
and
with a beach
yeah.
at the end of it. Like
And he
nothing
says,
there.
we're still dead men. And Balky says, we have to jump. It's our only chance. So Balky climbs over to the other side of the railing, the outer side, and he tries to get Larry over,
He
and Larry
pulls
just like
Larry.
very comically, physically, like flip flops over the railing, and then next time we see him, he's like upright, standing with their back to the pier on the outside of the railing, both of them. And Balky's like, all right, jump on the count of 3, 1, and he counts to 3.
It's an upshot. So we're looking at this upshot of them on a railing on location. They're gonna jump on 3.
And they jump on 3, but Balky lands on a lower deck.
Well, then we cut to this shot from above, and you notice where Balky's jumping, there is a lower platform.
Yeah.
Where Larry is jumping is
the
nothing.
ocean.
And
So
he
Larry
falls past
goes
the platform into the water.
ocean.
Balky landed on the lower platform, which would have been smart if Larry landed there too.
Yeah.
Luckily, Larry didn't have the camera, so the camera's still good.
Yeah. So then how does Larry get out of the ocean? We don't know,
Doesn't
but
matter.
he does. It
Yes.
doesn't matter because we cut next to a close up of their feet
Yeah.
walking
And Larry's is all
outside,
squishy. He's like,
and
squish,
Larry's
squish, squish.
soaking wet,
Yeah.
and the camera pans up. They're walking like in a strip mall parking
yeah.
lot. Larry's soaking wet, Balky's dry, and Balky just goes, "Sorry, cousin, it was a natural mistake." And Larry's pissed. He's like, "You said jump." And Balky says, "I didn't mean jump into the water." And Larry said, "Learn to be specific."
If you didn't mean jump in the water, you should have said
Yeah.
jump, but not in the water.
And he says, "Okay, anyway, we have to go to the police because people are trying to kill them." And Larry's like, "We can't go to the police because 200 people saw a dead man in his arms and he was holding the murder weapon over his lifeless body." But Balky was like, "No, duh, I videotaped the murder. The tape will prove us innocent."
Ooh. And Larry's like, well, has it occurred to you there might not be anything on that tape?
Why is he such a downer?
And now he's like, "You're not the greatest cameraman."
optimistic at
If I was
all.
Larry, I'd be like, oh my God, Balky, tell me you got this.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
he's not
He's like, you're not the
optimistic at
world's
all.
greatest cameraman. You might have missed the whole thing. But Larry goes, why don't we play the tape back? And Balky's like, cousin, that's going to be a little bit tough. And Larry's like, no, it's not going to be a little bit tough.
He's still
Because
mocking him.
you just put your finger on the play button and push. And Balky goes, well, the play button has been replaced by a bullet hole. And he holds up the camera. There's a hole.
I couldn't really see the bullet
No,
hole.
it was
but,
all dark and
but,
black. But
you know, we just
apparently
believe there's a bullet
bullet
hole
where the play button was. Yeah.
Larry's like, okay, wait. We can still figure this out. And he says, we need to find someplace we can play back the tape. As he stands up in this monologue, the camera pans out, and behind him in this strip mall is a big store called Audio Video City.
Such a generic name for this.
Yeah, but it
Audio
sounds
Video
just
City.
like all those
Yeah,
stores
that's true.
that used
Yeah.
to exist.
Circuit City.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Audio
Shack.
Video
Video City. Come on down.
And he goes, "We need a video store." And we see behind him a video store. And we need a Yellow Pages. Okay, so that's like the directory so that they could find, before there was Google, so they could find where the video stores are. And he's like, "Oh, of course, we're not familiar with the city, so we have to get a map."
Yeah, the
Right?
GPS.
And so all we need is Yellow Pages and a map and a video store. And he's like, "Oh, we have no transportation, so we need a bus schedule."
Bus schedule.
So he's like, "We need a bus schedule, Yellow
All we
Pages,
need,
a map.
all these things.
All you need is the Yellow Pages, a map, a bus schedule, a video store." And Balky, at this point, Balky has stood up and like seen the store behind him.
Yes.
So they're like, he goes, "Or we could just go in there." And Larry turns around and he goes, "Yep, that's another way to do it." And they go into the store.
We're in Audio Video City. Apparently, Balky gets distracted by something right in, as they walk in. And Larry's like, "Stop it." And a salesman approaches him. And he looks at Larry, who's still all wet. He goes, "Hi, can I show you a TV, VCR, steam iron?" It's kind of funny. And Larry's like, "No, thanks. We're just looking." And the salesman tells them that they came at the right time because they're in the middle of our midday madness sale. So there's a sale that's just from like 12 to 2 or something.
Yeah, I don't know what midday sale is, but Balky picks up a tag on some item nearby. He's like, "Cousin, we can get 25% off any floor item with our good credit."
And the guy reiterates, "That's right. During our sale, all floor models are 25% off." Balky's like, "Here, take all my money."
Let me get my money. And Larry's like, "Stop it. We're just looking." But this was like a lot of dialogue about this
midday
sale. And I
madness
really
sale.
wondered, like, why. Again, there were a few spots in this episode where I was like, why is this bit of dialogue in here? What service? What?
I mean, I think your theory about it was so
What
that it
purpose
would
does it
explain,
serve?
because the store is full
store
of people.
is buzzing with people, which will be important
Yes.
in the end of the scene.
And,
So I think that's what it is.
And there's a wall of TVs
They had
in
to
the
tell
background
us
showing
some
the news.
reason
are
why
all these
so
people
many
here
people in the middle of the day are at Audio
It's a
Video
midday
City.
madness sale. Okay.
So yeah, but still, even this whole bit about, even if it was midday
Floor
madness,
models
the
are
floor
why you gotta
models
repeat that?
25%
Yeah,
is
I
so
don't know.
specific
I don't
and
know.
doesn't serve any purpose. So
I mean, yeah.
I don't. They could have like shaved 10 seconds off anyway. So Larry's like, no, we're not here for the sale. We're
Because we're just
looking. We're just looking.
The guy's like, all right.
And so he takes the video camera from Balky, pulls the tape out, and there's a VCR on like the counter in front of him. He starts like putting it in there and trying to get it to play. And he's like, I hope you got this. And in the background, there's a wall of televisions all playing the same
news
channel, and it happens to be the local news.
And
people are standing around watching it too, like shoppers. And Balki kind of goes over there a little bit, and we see this female reporter, another Asian.
Oh yeah.
And she's finishing up some other news story, and then she goes, "This just in. Earlier today, violence rocked the wedding of soap opera star Marcy Eden, who plays Darla Wayne on the popular daytime drama El Segundo. The celebration was cut short when two men posing as reporters brutally murdered one of the wedding guests."
And then you get that great bit of Balki going back to Larry, go, cousin, you gotta see this. Cousin, you gotta pay attention.
And Larry's like, Balki, leave me alone.
Balki, I'm trying to do this.
I'm trying to make this VCR. I have to.
But cousin, you gotta see this, cousin.
And so Balki's not successful. Larry is not budging. He's very concerned with the VCR. And then Balki turns back to the televisions in the background, and they've now put up a photograph of Balki and Larry holding the knife, like after they came out of that cake cart. And the reporter goes, "Police are searching for the two assailants tentatively identified as Larry Appleton and Balki Bart." And then Balki in the video store goes, "Bartokumus."
And he runs back to Larry and he's like, cousin, come out, cousin. He tries to do the thing where he just picks up Larry to put him there, but Larry's not budging. He's trying to pull him, and Larry hangs on. He's like, "Balki, I'm trying to work the VCR." He's like, "Cousin, finally cut it." And then Balki goes, "Cousin, your listening skills have not been honed." And he grabs his head and he turns Larry's head. Just as we hear the reporter say, Balki goes, "Listen." And Larry sees his picture, and the reporter says the victim was undercover narcotics agent Richard Tracy. Two suspects are considered armed and dangerous. So the guy's name's Dick Tracy. It's kind of funny.
Tracy.
Richard Tracy. And then there's a woman there who's been standing there looking back and forth going, huh? There? Yeah. And the pastor goes, There they are. They're the killers.
Those are the killers.
And
everybody in the store turns to look at them. Let's stop for one moment and talk about this Asian female news reporter. Her name was Dale Harimoto, and she made a pretty good career out of just playing newscasters and
I love it.
TV, like news correspondents. Similar roles on Cagney and Lacey, Sledgehammer, Falcon Crest,
was great.
Sisters, and Seinfeld even.
So I wonder if she was an anchor woman and became an actor and be like, you know what? I can act like an anchor news person.
Yeah, and that's
so
all the only...
And that's all I need to do. And I'm happy with
She probably just did it as a side thing.
That's great.
She did news and fake news.
So they're all outed as killers. And what does the crowd of people do?
And Dick Tracy, of course. We said his name was Richard Tracy, which we think might be a nod to Dick Tracy, who was a comic strip detective.
Yeah, famous Dick Tracy. Yeah. There was a movie with Madonna.
Yeah, it was a good movie, yeah.
Good comic strip. Yeah, so they've been outed as killers, and the crowd decides to get a closer look.
And they all sort of like walk toward suspected murderers. And as they're walking toward them, Larry's desperately trying to get this VHS videotape out of the machine. And he says, the tape is jammed.
Uh-oh.
And so and then they look around and see everyone looking at them. And Larry just like pulls all the wires from the back of the machine and unplugs it and just grabs the machine under his arm. Giant VCR.
Puts it under his arm.
And Balki grabs the wires and they just like, and then we hear somebody in the store go, "They're the murderers."
Yeah.
And they just kind of like walk out of the store synchronized. Yeah. And then we hear the salesman who had greeted them earlier go, "Wait, they're taking my machine." And then we cut to them outside the store and Balki says, "We didn't pay for that." And Larry says, I'll send him a check. So now he's just like stealing stuff.
Great bit of camera work here so they step outside, and in the background is the long hallway of the strip mall, and you see a guy out of focus back there as they're doing it. He says, "I'll send them a check." But then they do this thing. It's called rack focus. They turn and look down.
The guy is one of the thugs. Yeah.
Yes, the guy is one of the thugs. They rack focus to the thug way in the distance, and they turn back and they rack focus back to the cousins who go, run. Very like film thing to do. Like I appreciated the little rack focus move to guide the eye there. And the guy starts chasing towards them.
Stop saying rack focus.
Rack focus. That's what it's called. It's a technical term.
Okay, filmmaker.
You got to rack focus. Hey, make sure you rack that focus. Anyways, what are Herb and Sheila doing this whole time? It's time to find out.
Somehow Herb and Sheila have also ended up in this strip mall parking
Oh,
lot.
how convenient.
They're in the parking lot. They have a car this time, and they're
Herb's
putting
grumpy.
stuff in the trunk, and we see Sheila shut the trunk, and Herb's looking just very like grumpy. Yeah, and he goes, "I hate Los Angeles. It's smoggy. The only celebrity I've seen is Jerry Mathers, and two madmen stole our rent-a-bike."
So he only saw Jerry Mathers, which of course it's the
Jerry
Beeb.
Mathers.
He's the Beeb from Leave It to Beaver.
Yes.
Wally and the Beeb. So he saw the Beaver. That's the biggest celebrity. Jerry Mathers is probably just walking his dog too. But yeah, Jerry Mathers. But he
Leave It
kind
to
of
Beaver.
was kind of the butt of jokes in his career because he didn't really do much.
But at least
Afterwards.
they saw Jerry Mathers. And Sheila's like, "Herb, please, we just had a bad morning. That's all. It's
Sheila, she's
over now.
positive. I like Sheila.
Let's just get in the car and go to Disneyland." And he goes, "Give me the keys." And of course, as she's passing keys in the air to her
Runs by.
husband, Balky and Larry with a VCR see the keys. And Balky's like, "Oh, it's that nice couple again that lent us their bike." And then Larry grabs the keys from Sheila's hand and just like gets in their car.
Bucky's like, "Yeah,
They're like-
is this a small world or what? You're never gonna guess what happened."
And he stops to try to explain
talking to
it.
them.
And Larry like backs out of the parking space and like then he drives up to where they're talking and he's like, "Balky, get in the car, get in the car." And Balky's like, "We were on the pier and then these people are chasing us." And then I said, "Jump." And he's like, "No, if I tell you to jump, would you?" And like Larry's like, "Balky, get in the car." And then he like dives in through the driver's
side
seat
window
past
over
Larry.
yes, as they peel away, and Herb goes, "That's
my car. What are you doing?" So they just stole this
Poor
car.
Herb's
Yeah.
having the worst Los Angeles visit ever.
Larry has like no regret stealing the bike or the car.
No,
He's
this is
just
a
like,
crazy.
"Let's do
well,
this."
I mean, they're trying to kill him, so
Yeah, true.
I'll let him have it. But I like how Sheila is trying to stay positive with all
Yeah.
that. I'm sure she spun this also
Right.
later on.
So they drive past the thug that we have seen
was
who
chasing
has a
them.
gun.
Yeah.
And then as they drive away, another thug in a car pulls up and the other thug gets
Thug
in
car
the
shows
car
up.
and they chase. They chase and we dissolve back to that middle of the action scene that we started with
Back to
the car
beginning,
chase.
with the back window blown out.
Yeah, and we hear Balky saying, "So anyway, then we run into that nice couple again, and they were nice enough to lend us their car, which was really quite generous of them." And basically, that's how we got into this mess. That was the original question. How did we
the
get
whole
into
time,
this mess?
Balky has been telling him the story, and Larry's like, "Thanks, Balky."
And Balky's like, "You're
You're
most
welcome."
welcome," missing the sarcasm. And Larry is like looking behind them and he's like, "I think they're getting closer." And then Balky's looking ahead of them and you see his eyes go big and he's like, "Cousin, don't worry about them. Worry about that." And he points forward and we cut to see what's in front of them. And it's this huge truck like backing out of
Semi-truck sideways.
backing. Yeah. Like
Trailer, big trailer.
blocking the road, backing out. And they're heading like straight to it.
Oh, and they're screaming, and it freezes on them screaming with the words
And we
"to
see
be
our old
continued."
friends "to be continued."
Oh my lord! Roll credits.
Roll credits.
That was crazy. That was a crazy journey. Before we get into our thoughts, listener, check out our TeePublic shop. You can find it on our website, danceofjoypod.com/shop. We'll get you there. Lots of fun stuff to purchase: swag, t-shirts, hoodies, tote bags, pillows, all with the Dance of Joy logo on it, lovely blue color or whatever color you want. You can mix and match. That's the fun part. Okay, wow, crazy. Oh my
Wow.
God. First of all, 2-part series. Like we said, almost every season has a 2-part series except for season 1. That was only 6 episodes. And season 3, for some reason, they didn't do that. But man, all filmed on location, also outside.
Mhm.
Kind of a crazy vibe, a look, a feel. It was very different.
Mini movie.
Like a mini movie.
Yeah.
There's guns and shootings
And
and
a
stabbings
murder.
and a murder and a chase scene that's right out of like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie or something. I don't know.
And
what
we don't
I think
even
about
know
all
like
this.
why the guy was murdered. Yeah, he was a DEA, a drug
He was
agent.
an informant,
but,
so
like,
maybe they caught. He was doing undercover, and they found out whatever. Why did he say?
Why was
Rosebud?
he at this wedding?
Yeah, how does he know Darla? Why does everybody think she's Darla and not her real name? Why does he say Rosebud?
Yeah.
Oh man, you know what? What did you think? Like, I don't know what I think. Part of me enjoyed the ambition and the wild swing for something different.
Yeah, part of me respected that. Another part of me found so many loopholes in the story that I was like, why?
Well, they
why
have to
did
do
they
this
even
to get
do
to
that?
this
Yeah.
kind of
Like,
thing.
why does Jennifer and Marianne have to go? So then Anne Balky, why didn't Jennifer want to have a romantic trip to LA with just her fiance if she supposedly loves him?
Yeah.
And then, like why what else were the whys?
How come nobody noticed these guys running around shooting
yeah.
at them? And they noticed the cake cart was heavier.
Oh yeah, why didn't they
Lots
notice
of
the
things.
cake cart was heavier?
But it's all suspension of disbelief, which is fine and fun. And I mean, there's an extended chase scene. There was some fun stuff in there. Herb and Sheila
were fun.
It's a part one. It is another two-parter where
there was some stunts.
is on the line where he's about to get killed.
Yeah.
So that's consistent. There were some stunts. There was some stunt work. I don't know. I mean, it was kind of fun.
But it wasn't like something Balky did to put their life. I mean, something Larry did to put their lives in danger.
Well, following them and taping
them.
He's just doing his job.
He's trying
hardcore
to do
journalism.
his job. Hardcore. Yeah, he's a serious journalist.
Let's just put it this way. Did you like it?
I didn't love it, but I didn't have a problem with it.
I'm kind of with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you on that.
Like, for me, there wasn't, I mean, there's like physical, but not physical comedy. It was very stunt action movie like.
Yeah.
Which was fine, but that's not why we watch this show, right?
But I kind of like their swing at doing
There's
like an action episode.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Balkyisms, some good ones. But they tried to just do like a TJ Hooker show for some reason. Like, let's make a cop show. I don't know. I was like, all right.
And the whole reason that they even wrote that dialogue, I'm just thinking about this now, for the girls to join, it was really a tool to get Balky to be there with him.
Yeah, because he was getting left out.
For the main story. But like, couldn't they have done that in a much easier, less time-consuming way where the girls didn't even have to be in?
Well, maybe it pays off in the next episode. We don't know. Maybe they come in.
Why are the
it's only
girls
half.
there?
Maybe they play a vital role.
Like, what if Wainwright was like, both of you on assignment, go?
Yeah, you're the photographer. You're the writer.
Because they've worked together before.
Yeah, he's called them a team. They're a journalistic team.
Right. So,
or Larry could have been like, I'm going to tell Wainwright I need a photographer and you're the camera guy.
I mean, even simpler than that, for the purpose of making the story flow faster, they could have just said Wainwright assigned both of them. But we don't know. Maybe I actually haven't watched ahead, so maybe the next episode.
Yeah, I don't remember this one. I don't know what happened.
Maybe there's a reason the girls need to be there. Okay.
What the listeners think, sister?
What did the listeners had a lot of opinions.
This is going to be great.
All right, we're going to try to get through them quickly. The listeners had a lot of opinions. First, we have listener cousin Pam Hitchcock, who writes many things. Among them, I have put on my hat of 1,000 quibbles and will list the most that aggrieve me. Believe me, there are more.
Okay.
Why did Larry let Balky manipulate him with his fake crying?
Uh-huh.
On the surface, it seems, I don't think his crying was fake. I think he was really crying. On the surface, it seems like Larry is being selfish, but why can't he enjoy his first-class ticket that he earned? Balky can go buy his own ticket.
I suppose that's fair.
That's fair, but, they're family.
Yeah, Balky wanted to go. He could have made it happen.
Also, I get that they don't want to show blood on a family show, but they showed a man being stabbed and killed by a knife in the back. Yes, we agree.
I mean, if you watch any PG-13 movie, it's always hilarious when the guy's killed by a sword and it's pulled out and it's completely clean and there's no blood. But it's okay to show the impaling.
Yeah.
Our priorities are a little mixed up. I don't know.
She writes, why didn't the mobsters leave the body in the parking garage instead of dragging it around a hotel kitchen and hiding it under a serving cart? We had the same question.
It's funnier that way.
Why, after all the running and hiding, did Larry, clearly hearing nearby voices, decide that was the ideal time to pop out of the cart?
Yeah.
Same question.
Obviously, you're in the middle of a thing. It's not the right time.
And oh my, a mysterious dying last clue.
Rosebud.
And let's have hapless tourists for comic relief. I kind of liked Herb
I
and
love
Sheila,
Herb and
though.
Sheila. They're a great couple. I hope they make it. Those two kids.
She also writes, I don't think that mobsters running around and waving and shooting pistols is quite how the mafia operates. And oh God, the score and the Randy Newman music. I love LA. Okay, finally, this is still Pam Hitchcock writes, this and part 2 are my most disliked episodes of the entire series.
Who do you think you're talking to? Somebody nice?
All 8 seasons.
All right.
She says, I couldn't find anything entertaining about either one, so this will also serve as my comments for both.
Okay, so according to Pam Hitchcock, we have hit the bottom.
Bottom of the bottom.
We've hit the bottom
we'll
here
see.
in
We have
season
some
6.
differing opinions.
Okay.
But she also wrote, she gives her ratings. The writers should be made to sit among the ashes. Awarding Baba Stickies would be insulting to the other Baba Stickies.
Oh my God, it's not even a negative. It can't even get Baba Stickies.
Poor review.
All right, Pam. Tell us what you really think. I like it.
All right. Then we have cousin Nicole Stoner, who writes, I've seen a lot of polarizing opinions on these 2 episodes, the most out of the whole series, but I love this 2-parter so much.
Oh my God.
Sure, it looks out of the ordinary for a typical Perfect Strangers episode in both format and tone, but I like to look at it from a different perspective. It puts the cousins in our reality. Compared to some of the other serious toned episodes in the series, I'd say this is the darkest episode given the stakes.
I agree so far. And that's interesting. It's like they've stepped out of the TV sitcom world and they're in the real world
With
getting
stakes,
shot at. And there are real stakes. And I love that. It's dark. This is dark.
And she writes, however, I do think that some of the chase scenes drag a little bit. We get it. We got to show off the fact that we're on location. Yeah. And then finally, one question. Did the cousins get away with Grand Theft Auto?
Yes, they did.
Carjacking.
So far,
They're ahead of their time.
Herb and Sheila file a police report. They got to file. They'll find the bike and the car.
And then there was a little bit of a discussion among the listeners, which I really liked because Nicole Stoner says, what's great about our group is that everyone is interested in and respects others' opinions. I like it. People are disagreeing, but they're doing it in a supportive way.
Yeah, that's how you should
for
do
other fans of the show. And finally, she writes, I've always thought we cousins usually agree that either Just Desserts or Pipe Dreams is the best episode, but your mileage may vary with what's the worst episode or least favorite episode conversation. The answer is so all over the place, I can barely find a consensus.
That's fascinating. When we get through the 8 seasons, I'm going to have to pick my least
best and
favorite,
worst,
best and worst. We should do that.
Most favorite, least favorite, and get that from the listeners too.
Yes, she's right about Just Desserts and Pipe Dreams, but the worst, it could be any one of these. We've had so many crazy opinions in the last few episodes that this is getting so interesting.
And then finally we have listener cousin Whitney Smith, who writes, yay, we have finally made it to my favorite 2-parter of the season.
Oh, she likes
series.
this one too.
The reason I like it because it looked more like a Perfect Strangers made for TV mini movie.
Yeah.
There was comedy, drama, suspense. I wasn't too crazy about the plot as much, and there was some dark scenes like the guy getting stabbed and the dumping of the body under the serving table, which helps the fact that it looked like a made-for-TV movie. She also loves it because she currently lives in LA and has been to and seen most of the places they were at. And she writes, I've been to the Santa Monica Pier where Larry fell in. I knew exactly where that's at.
Wow.
The Lowe's Hotel Santa Monica, which I know where it is. Unfortunately, it's closed now and being rebranded. It was used in a lot of television shows. For example, the movie A Low Down Dirty Shame. And she writes, now here's the killer, not to take away from TV magic, but that shopping center where they were walking is nowhere in walking distance from the Santa Monica
which
Pier.
they were just before.
It's in Culver City, and it's a bit of a drive away.
Oh.
So that doesn't make sense to anybody who knows LA, but I didn't. And she said, I know exactly where this shopping center is. It's in Culver City on Jefferson Boulevard. And goes into very specific details about comparing. And in fact, in the group, Thank you very much, cousin
She's
Whitney Smith, for posting photographs
of the strip mall. I'm looking at it right now. We got a Ross Dress for Less.
The Ross Dress for Less is still there. The Fantastic Sam's is still there. The Chinese restaurant is still there. The audio video store
is now a Verizon store.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's some other stores
but
as well.
But that hallway shot where they do the rack focus scene, that looks exactly the same today as it does. That's amazing. Oh my God!
She says every time I shop or go past this strip mall, I think of this scene in The Great, and that the two actors were live on location.
Currently, there's a Sally Beauty Supply. There's a Jenny Craig. There's a Dragon Chinese restaurant. Stuff like that. It's your strip mall.
And then she also asks, what was up with the eyeliner on Balky?
Was he wearing eyeliner?
It wasn't super noticeable to me, but apparently other people noticed it as well. She says, I was too mad. His eyeliner looked better than my eyeliner. But what I do hate is when the episodes are remastered and put on DVD and streaming sites, they added a laugh track. And I guess she has watched the show in syndication on MeTV.
It didn't have a laugh track originally.
Any laugh track. And it felt more like a made-for-TV movie.
I mean, I pictured, imagine an hour and a half Perfect Strangers movie. Like, this is what it would look like, right? You could just do 90 minutes of this, do 3 episodes strung together or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow. So a lot of differing opinions.
And then finally, Pam Hitchcock responded to Whitney Smith saying, I didn't notice the eyeliner either, but what was up with that strangely pronounced Will in the first scene, which Balky said.
Usually
don't know.
Larry says
but this time it was Balky. Maybe he's picked it up from Larry.
I do that a lot. I do this one. I go well or whelp. I don't know why. I like whelp. Whelp.
Yeah. Whelp is from Archie Comics.
Oh, they used to say that in the old time. Great comments from our listeners. This is my favorite part of the show.
This was
I
good.
don't ever know how it's going to pan out.
Yeah.
Especially getting into these late seasons. Don't be ridiculous, not said.
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
They weren't even in the apartment at all.
Yeah, no Dimitri, no pictures of Dimitri.
Dimitri wasn't invited to the wedding, I guess, or wants to go on location.
All right, let's talk about Perfect Strangers today. Can we remake this episode today? Would it hold up? What do we have to change? Well, we
yes and no.
Wouldn't have that whole extra scene in the video store and stealing a VCR because everything's on your phone. They would have filmed it on the phone. So that would remove the fact that the news was we'd have to have some other vehicle for them to get recognized.
We couldn't even get there because what would happen? Larry and Balky followed these guys. They are filming the murder on their phone. They upload the video to Twitter. These guys are now outed. And nobody,
other people film them with a knife.
But they would still have to chase them to get the phone before they can upload it. So you could do a funny thing where Balky's looking for Wi-Fi as they're being chased to try to upload it. But would they get caught under when? Yes. But then when they get revealed and then live cameras would have you as the killer.
Yeah.
Then, what you could do? When was the OJ thing? Was that later? That was a few years later. I wonder if they did. They could have done a White Bronco parody helicopter chase.
That's too dark for Perfect Strangers.
But I think that happened a few years later. That was 92, I believe.
94.
Oh, I was off. 94 that happened. Wow.
I remember watching it.
Oh, I remember watching that live. That was the first time cable news, 24-hour news channel kind of took hold because you had something that was going on 24 hours.
Yeah.
But
so I would say
technology has changed. You couldn't do the video.
I would say a low medium PS today.
You'd have to change half of the thing.
You have to change the story pretty significantly.
You could still do the mobsters chasing after you because you have the evidence of them murdering someone. And have a chase scene.
The whole idea that the paper sent Larry, I guess, would be more relevant today than in the 90s because before, when papers had money, they had correspondents in different cities that they would just use instead of.
No, but now I feel like they don't pay for that. They just pick up what's on the wire out there and then run that. You don't need to send
people. And
that's
how they used to. Yeah, I don't know.
You know how bad it is? They fired, a few years ago, they fired all their photographers and they just tell the reporters, just take pictures on your phone. It's fine. I was like, oh my God.
It's terrible.
Just video it on your phone. We can use it. And that's what you see. You see cell phone video everywhere now.
So,
But these guys' spot would have been blown on TikTok,
Yeah.
and it would have had that ooh ooh song on top of it to make the murder a little bit funny. It'd be like, "Whoa, bro, check out this murder!" Ooh, ooh, ba, ba, ba. It would just repeat. That's what would happen.
another banger. And okay, so pretty low, kind of low mid.
I think mid. Like
Here's today's score.
You
The
gotta rework
central premise could still hold, but all the details and the execution of it have
You could
to
still do a
change.
great shootout chase scene with cars. Like that would be great. Like the touristy stuff kind of still works.
Yeah,
Maybe they grab somebody's rollerblades instead. I don't know.
yeah,
Or like a Segway.
or a
Or those
scooter.
scooters, yeah. They would grab a Segway. They just like jump on it, and
Yeah,
the way they don't have to actually. I see people zipping around. You know what? I think we already mentioned this. Like when we used to go to our neighborhood, we used to see kids riding bikes. Now I see people just standing up, zipping around,
Yeah.
riding around on a one wheel, on two wheels, not exerting any energy. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, we really are in the future. What has happened to society? They just stand there and goes, bzzz. We had to pedal those things. We didn't have
Yes.
e-bikes. What are you doing?
All right, we had a lot of excitement in this episode. Join us next week when we find out what
thrilling
happened.
conclusion.
Why are the girls there?
Does the top of the car get sheared off as they go under the semi truck? That's
does
what I want to see.
Rosebud mean?
What does Rosebud mean? Was it really his sled? I want to see the top of this car
And
ripped off.
did they, in fact, get the video of the murder?
Oh, they didn't even get a chance to
We
check.
don't
There could
know.
be nothing on that tape. Balky is a lousy cameraman,
Yeah.
even though he previously had
Maybe
experience
he
with
had the
cameras.
lens cap on.
He could have. In the meantime, listener, before all that thrilling stuff happens, you can support this show. You can visit our website and buy us a virtual coffee. It's a virtual tip jar. We appreciate all support. Huge shout out to said cousin Pam Hitchcock,
Hitchcock.
who bought us 3 coffees this week.
Thank you.
Get out of the city.
Thank you so much, cousin Pam Hitchcock.
We love the support. She loves the show and the interactions she noted with her donation. So, cousin, be like cousin Pam. danceofjoypod.com/support will get you there.
You can also help us out and show your love by visiting us on our website, danceofjoypod.com, where you will find all of the links to places to listen to this podcast. And if you go to those links, you can listen, you can subscribe, you can rate us, review us, all that fun stuff. You can also, from our main website page, press a little button right there on the bottom right and leave us a voice message. Tell us what you thought about this little Perfect Strangers mini movie. We want to hear all of your opinions. You can also send them to us in an email at danceofjoypod@gmail.com or at any of our social media accounts. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But Imran, what is the most important thing our listeners should do?
This is important tech tip. When recording onto a VHS cassette tape, you want to make sure that little tab isn't broken off. You got to put tape over it. Otherwise, it's not going to record. I haven't watched the next episode. I don't know if this is a plot point, and I know nobody knows what I'm talking about because you don't even know what a VHS. But remember that little tabby thing? If you didn't want someone to record over it, you would snap it off, and then you would just have to put tape on top so it would record again.
Okay, that's important. I'm going to cut you off there. That's important. But more important than that is share this show with a
Yes.
friend.
With your mobster friends, with anybody
with
chasing you.
Anybody named Marco and Herb and Sheila.
Next time you
Share it with tourists. Share it
People
with
riding tandem bikes or riding Segways.
servers who don't think twice about moving 3 bodies along with a cake. Share it with your fancy hotel people.
Share it with
Word
Darla.
of mouth goes a long way. We just want you to talk about this show and about Perfect Strangers. We're just trying to spread the joy. And that is our show for today. Now we are so happy.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy.
Hey, 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 hey.